Peace and blessings to you wonderful and amazing sports fans. It's me, Coach Ed Gladney here, and this is Coach Ed's Amazing World of Sports. Before we begin today's episode, I just want to ask you guys to make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification so you can be notified on all the episodes and share on all your social media platforms. I thank you guys for helping me grow this program. And today's episode, I want to talk about the game yesterday a little bit um, with the Rutgers Scarlet Knight versus the Boston College Eagles up in Cherry Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. Now, Rutgers came back to win the game 22-21. It was a very interesting, a very old school type of a game. And when I say old school, I'm talking about from the days of the Big East when they were both in the Big East. They both fought tooth and nail in this game. A lot of first game mistakes and errors on both sides, both teams on all phases. So, just want to give you a little bit of my thoughts, some of the notes that I took from the game, and touch on a couple of things Coach Shiano said after the game. I mean, one of the things that really noticed about Rutgers is the team is young. I mean, they're playing a lot of first and second year players, along with some key veteran guys. But, there are a lot, when you go through the roster, there are a lot of young guys playing. And those guys are going to continue to gain experience because it's definitely needed. I mean, Coach Yano alluded to that. He basically said they're a young team and that they made a lot of young team mistakes, and alluded to that they were like a little nervous errors. So, I found that was very interesting. In terms of watching the game and, going back a little bit and looking at some of the highlights, they do need to continue to learn and improve from those mistakes. And one of the things Coach Yano talked about is a good lesson, a teaching moment is for the team to stay in the moment, not looking too far ahead, whether it's games down the road, whether it's during the game, a play ahead, just stay in that moment. Take it one play at a time. That goes to his mantra, chop, just focus and stay right there. Don't go anywhere else. Just focus on the task at hand. Um, Overall, I do think that the talent is getting better. Um, but it still needs to improve. But coming from the last administration, the coaching staff that was there, the talent is definitely improving. For the most part, the coaches do make adjustments. I mean, there were some questionable situations and things that I question, but they did make good adjustments. And it led to them being able to win the game. I mean, now one thing that I did find very interesting that Coach Shiano said, and I'm quoting, he said, "Before you can start winning games, you have to stop losing them." And that's very important. That goes into the adjustments. That goes into everything within in the program. And I found that very interesting because when you do watch the game and you really pay attention, I did get that sense. They did stop thinking about losing. They did stop focusing too far ahead on the winning, and they just focused on not losing the game and staying, like I said earlier, staying in the moment. Now I found that very interesting, and I think that's going to go along well as he continues to build this program. I mean, the team is very gritty and they compete. You don't see any guys quitting. They fight until the final whistle. They believe in each other and support each other. Coach Yano talked about that. He said, especially in the quarterback back room, they're so supportive of each other, and they're so happy for each other. It's not about the me mentality. So, and you did notice that on the field, because in the quarterbacks, I mean, they played for the most part two quarterbacks, but they did have three people line up in the quarterback position starting the game. They came out in the Wildcat, so but again, having multiple quarterbacks playing throughout the game, and they were supportive, they were coaching each other up. So That's something that, is good when I say that, they believe and they support each other. Now the offensive line, it still needs a little bit, it still needs time to gel. I mean, you have a whole, basically you have four new starters, three new starters with two other key guys who, are returning from last year. And that takes time to gel. In terms of the quarterback, Gavin Wimsatt, their young quarterback, he's very talented, but he's still young and he's learning the game. And there's one thing that a lot of people do tend to forget or overlook. I don't want to say forget; they overlook is that he's young. Last year, he basically played the season at 17. He gave up his senior year in high school and came to RU and came onto the roster and practiced and played with the team. And he's really 18. This would actually be his true freshman year. So he's still young. He's still learning. The rotation is still a work in progress. You know, will it impact the team? I mean, you also have Noah Vedral coming back. He's injured right now, but then you're going to have three quarterbacks in the rotation. I mean, can it work? Yes. Can it be cause problems? Yes. But um, it's going to be very interesting to me, going forward. But yesterday, having the two quarterbacks, and they're very limited on the experience, it still speaks to the grit and the moxie of the team and the fight in this team, no matter what, even with limited experience in the quarterback position. They stepped up, especially in the rushing attack. I mean, they had over 200 yards rushing, which helped the offense and also helps the defense because it keeps the defense off the field. Allows them to stay fresh and stay in the moment too. But offensively, you get in that rhythm. And with an offensive line that needs time to gel, a good way to do that is with the rushing attack. So having over 200 yards is a good thing. I mean, all the backs who played, they were very tough and feisty, and they competed hard. I mean, they were even without one of their veteran running backs. So it spoke to the productivity and what they're able to do. I mean, one key moment was the game-winning drive for the touchdown. I mean, they drove 96 yards in 12 plays. All of that they did with all runs. They had one incompletion, but everything was run, and that's a matter of imposing your will on the opposition, to be able to do that, especially in a tough game like that, competing and fighting and not giving up on each other. So the running game is a big factor, and it's going to help balance out, with the offense and the defense. They're going to play off each other until the passing game develops. I mean, it does need to contribute to help balance out the offense. Otherwise, teams are just going to load the box and force you to pass, especially with young guys. And when Noah comes back, he's a good leader. He's smart. He's tough. But he's not. He doesn't have like one of those Josh Allen arms, and he's not like some of these elite quarterbacks that are in college right now. He's a game manager, so they definitely need to improve the passing game. Get the ball into their playmakers because they do have some good playmakers. One of the things that I had concerns with was it came from coaches really, and that just it's about your play calling, getting the offensive play calls onto the field a little bit quicker because there were times it seemed that the offense was a little bit pressed, a little bit frazzled, maybe even stressed, and that also leads to mistakes. So it just seemed like the calls were coming in a little bit too long. So sometimes getting those plays in allows for adjustments, and it allows the team to relax a little bit. Just focus on what they need to do and what their assignments are. The other thing was penalties. I mean, penalties, penalties, penalties. They definitely need to clean that up, or it could be very detrimental going forward. Defensively, the defensive line played well. They controlled the run, and they got a lot of critical tackles for loss and pressures and sacks. Linebackers played well, especially Powell and Jennings. You saw them all over the place. The defense was flying to the ball to make plays. Now, the defensive coverage needs to get better. I mean, there were too many missed assignments, and Boston College just seemed to be passing on them. And coming in, that was one of the positions that I thought was going to be a lot more productive. Um, but it takes time. I understand that. Um, when there were plays on the ball, the DBs were there to make plays. Christian Izian, he's a good leader, and he has great leadership skills. He improved his play as the game went on. He was on quite a few tackles. I think he led the team with 10 total tackles. There were too many missed tackles, so we definitely have to clean that up. Special teams does need to play a little bit better because you know, coming from a Shiano coach team, that's something that I always, expect to be one of the strengths. So they definitely have to step up and improve that. Because special teams are usually a good aspect of any program. So overall, I do think Koscielny has the program headed in the right direction. He just needs the time, and we all need to be patient with him. That's just it. He needs the time. Coming in, this program was really um, at a critically bad stage, in terms of talent, in terms of infrastructure, everything. I mean, it was totally torn down from when he was last year. So, he definitely does need time, but it's definitely headed in the right direction. This win was great for recruiting. You beating an old Big East opponent. It's great for bragging rights. It broke a trend, because, we had lost 11 straight to Boston College. So, this win definitely shows how the Big Ten is helping, not just in the mental toughness and fortitude, but, in terms of Rutgers growing as a program and getting the talent in to help compete. So, hopefully, they'll enjoy the win and then start to get ready for the next game against Wagner. Um, in terms of looking at the box scores, um, overall, let's see, Rutgers had 200 and they gained 245 yards, but they had 33 yards in losses. So that's a total of 212 net rushing yards, which is a lot. On the contrary, Boston College did gain 77, but they had 48 yards in losses. So, they ended up with a net of 29 yards on 28 rushes. So that speaks to volumes of, that defense, how it held down the rushing attack of Boston College. Now, Boston College did have 283 passing yards, while Rutgers had 110. But when you total it up, Rutgers was at 322 to 312 for Boston College. So that's a big factor in terms of team statistics. I mean, Evan Simon was 8 for 12 for 83 yards in passing. Gavin Wimstead was 5 for 9 for 47 yards. In terms of rushing, Kyle Monangai, 19 for 78 with one touchdown. Al Shahid Salam was 5 for 53 with one touchdown. Gavin Wimsett, again, was 5 for 51 yards in rushing. Aaron Cruikshank was 3 for 35 with one touchdown. Johnny Langan was 6 for 21, and Evan Simon was 2 for 7, which is the 245 yards. And then, of course, you have the 11 yards the 33 yards in yards lost. Leading receiver was Johnny Langan, 2 for 25. But they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They went to 9 different receivers. So, they did spread it out. And that tells me that, through the course of the season, as they get more comfortable, they will have a lot of players that they can get the ball to. Defensively, like I said, Christian Izian had 10 tackles total. Deion Jennings had 6. Desmond Igbinoso had 5. Wesley Bailey had 5. Tyene Powell had 4. Wesley Bailey also had a fumble recovery, and 1.5 total sacks. So, they were, pretty productive, in terms of um, the play overall. In terms of the scoring, um, let me see. Phil Jerkovich started the scoring with a 11-yard pass play to Zay Flowers. That's in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Aaron Cruikshank had a 26-yard touchdown run. We did miss the extra point. Um, Jerkovich also hit Zay Flowers for a 26-yard touchdown in the second quarter. In the third quarter, Rutgers got a short field because they recovered a fumble, and Kyle Monangai ended up with a 1-yard touchdown run. Um, Later in the third quarter, Jerkovich also hit Jaden Williams for 11-yard touchdown pass. At that point in time, Boston College was up 21-12. Jude McEnany, closing out the third quarter, kicked a 33-yard field goal for a 21-15 Boston College lead. And then late in the game, Salam ran a 22-yard field goal with the McEnany kick, and that ended up the final score at 22-21. So, this is a good win. It's something to build on. Nothing, it's not perfect, but they have to, go into this week, go into the meetings, go into practice, go over the film, and look at what mistakes they made, and get ready to prepare for their next game against Wagner. Don't take Wagner lightly. You got to go in and do what you have to do, and prepare. Just like if you're going to play Ohio State or Michigan. Again, closing out the Boston College game, it's a good win. I'm happy for the win. It gets them starting off on the season on the right foot, because all pro the thought was Rutgers was not going to win. I think it was like the Rutgers had a 26-27% chance of winning. So, getting this win is a good thing to start the season. And we just want to take it from there and get ready for Wagner. So I hope you guys enjoyed this show, my little breakdown. If you have any questions, if you have any comments or your thoughts, definitely put them in the comments. I really appreciate it. I'll make sure I'll respond to it. If you have any thoughts, any suggestions on what I need to do, or any other shows, definitely put it in the comments, and I'll definitely go over that. Okay. So in closing, I want to thank you guys. I want to say peace, love, and soul to all you guys. And like I always say in football, make sure you turn it on and turn it up. Peace.